Nick Esplin, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for having me.
I'm wrapped for this one. We've had a couple of chats back and forth, and pretty keen to delve into a little bit of your story and your philosophy and everything else like that. You were telling me off air you just caught up with the town planner 20 minutes prior to catching up with me, so I know you got a fair bit going on, mate. Keen to learn a fair bit about it, but I guess if you had your own sort of personal philosophy on building out a portfolio, what do you feel it would be?
Mate, it's a really good question, actually. And I think over the years I've sort of developed and changed and, put all my eggs in one basket and then tossed and turned. But I think ultimately it's balance. Balance is the key thing for me. I see a lot of guys who come through our business, quantum buyers agents, and they just want to buy big and, have huge LVR and stuff like that. But one thing that I've certainly learned would be the serviceability side of things as well. That's very important to me, and living that lifestyle, the balanced lifestyle. And it's only recently have I actually got to probably experience that properly, because I managed to get rid of some properties during this COVID boom, which has been great. So I think for me, my biggest philosophy on buying property or my portfolio is actually balance and having that balanced LVR. So, going through times like we are now with increased interest rates, and there's a bit of uncertainty out there as well. Just gives us the ability to have that flexibility, mate. We can jump in, buy some other projects if we need to. And balance is key with everything.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It's definitely important that you mentioned the LVR piece as well, because not only have you got balance in terms of the types of assets that you've got, but at the same time, keeping that LVR low as well, I think is so important. It gives you flexibility and choice. You're not going to be bound to a 0.5% cash rate movement, which everyone seems to be freaking out about at the moment.
Oh, mate, it's wild. I've literally had times where I've just been leveraged up to my ears and sweating at night, just wondering what I'm going to do. And I vowed to myself to never do it again. And obviously it didn't start like that either. It took a few buyers and sells to get to the point where I could do it. But I think serviceability is a big thing for me too. Like I remember when I was a young carpenter trying to get a loan, and I had a car loan, a trailer loan, a jet ski loan, and the bank just laughed me out the door. So the fear of never revisiting that experience again, it's very important for me to ensure that this, you own all your depreciating assets, and you leverage your appreciating assets in the right order.
Yeah, speaking about young Nick, I mean, if you did have the opportunity to go back and tell him a few different things, what would it be? I mean, obviously the serviceability and leverage would be a part of that, but is there anything else that you'd tell yourself if you could?
Mate, I think the biggest thing with any young avid property investor is not getting caught up in the dollars. So I would say to myself to hold for longer. I was a carpenter before I was a buyer's agent, and then I ran a building company, and that's sort of how I started in the industry. So I would buy a property, do a reno, spend $100,000, and then get a reval so I could go and do something else, and it'd be valued for $200,000 more. And being a 23-year-old whippersnapper, I just saw the dollar signs, and I'd sell and then go again. And so I wish future Nick could come back and give me a smack over the head and say, reinvest his cash into another property and then leverage that and buy another one and do another reno and grow from there. So I'd say that's probably my biggest advice for young players, and young Nick would be to leverage what you've got a bit more, focus on the big picture, not just the small micro booms in the market. Step back and think about what you want to do long term. That's probably, I think I would actually love to. That's my biggest regret.
Yeah, and it's definitely a big one a lot of people mention, just because it's such it's hard for us to talk about it now because we talk about it every single day. But I remember like going back to that age too as well, and figuring out how do you pull that equity of a property. If it seems simple to us, but if you don't know, you don't know. And that's why, selling seems like the best option, because you can sell, pull out some money, and then get into a better property or whatever it might be. But sometimes there's no need to have to sell. You can just pull that equity out and go again. So yeah, it's definitely a good one. Now,
That's true. Yeah, that's true. There was, I guess, and we weren't as exposed to, I guess, like YouTube and other platforms like that back in the day where we could learn about it at the click of the fingers. I feel like, all I knew was what the bank manager was telling me. Like that's when we started, when you'd go and sit with the bank manager and they'd say yes or no. So anyway, now there's a lot more platforms and podcasts for us to learn more and grow more. So, it should, the next generation has got no excuses.
Get in. People were saying property were unaffordable 30 years ago. Still saying it. So there's plenty of opportunity to get in.
For sure.
Now you don't have to get into too much detail around your sort of specifics and personal portfolio and everything else like that. But I suppose, have you made many mistakes along the journey? Is there anything that you change about your portfolio now, or have you got a bit of an experience you could share with the listeners?
For sure, mate. I think the biggest mistake I've made, I'm actually going through this at the moment with a project I'm doing with someone, is getting tied up on the emotional side of things. So I had a house that I absolutely loved. It was in a blue chip location and it was my principal place of residence. And I just thought, I'm going to build the best house I can afford on this block of land. And I went way overboard, and I spent a lot more money than I could afford at the time. And I thought, it's a blue chip area, it's a blue chip product, but this was like more blue chip product than any other blue chip products in this area. So it really, I extended myself too far on it, and I built a property that was better than the other properties in that area. And don't get me wrong, it performed extremely well when I sold it, but I think you need to meet the market demands. So there's no point going and building the Shangri-La on in a housing commission suburb or anything like that. It's important to stay A, within your budget, but B, within the realm of what's selling around you. And I think then, I got good money for this property, but I spent a lot of money on it too. So as a percentage, if I had spent less, I might not have got as much, and I might be able to get my money out quicker and go again or do something different. So that was probably, one of the biggest lessons that I learned, is overcapitalizing and sticking within the means. So, providing a solution to the problem, not absolutely overdoing it and going, to the sky's the limit sort of thing. Just doing what's needed, and that's it. And moving forwards, that was a huge lesson for me. So moving forwards, I'm literally just very budget conscious, sticking to the brief, and that's it. And once we get it done, we get the reval and we go again. So trying to remove all the emotion out of the whole process is very important and I really push it hard with all of my clients. And I guess that's what another value that a buyer's agent can provide, right? It's an emotionless transaction as far as the purchase side of things go, but still appreciating the family home or whatever it is that they're looking to purchase.
Yeah, and I think that sort of holistic approach that you've taken in terms of, you were a carpenter, now you're a buyer's agent, you built a portfolio yourself, but you also know the renovation side really well, and even you're getting into the rental side of things as well. And I think that sort of whole approach of everything has allowed you to have that bigger picture and go, okay, well, what elements have I been educated in and understand really well, and bring them all together to have that bigger approach, rather than we're going to do this one development, we're going to build something massive, it's going to be the best thing in the area, and overcapitalize. So I think just that having your experience and education in the areas that you do is such an added value. And I guess sort of on that, what did that journey look like? So obviously you're a chippy nice and early, and then did you start building out a portfolio while you were working as a carpenter, or did you transition into the buyer's agent space before then? I mean, what was everyone talks about this sort of like light bulb moment in their portfolio journey. What did that look like for you?
Mate, it was very organic, and it was oddly organic because I've never had anything happen to me like that before. It was always get a career and settle down and hook in. So obviously became a carpenter, and then I studied my builder's license. I got my builder's license, and I bought a property, and then I started doing work on the side, sold it, bought another property. Same thing as I was building other people's dream homes, and we developed. I was in the industry for a decade, running my own building company, and really watching what people were doing and understanding the process. And I had a client who was introduced to me by a friend, and he approached me to actually build some granny flats out the back of some investment properties. So we went through the design process. We did the designs for him, and then the construction, and then we did it again. And then there was an opportunity where he said, "Oh, I'm looking to buy another investment property, do something similar, keep it near to the ground." And I did, and found a property and brokered the sale. And he said, "Mate, you should go and become a buyer's agent." And I had no idea what a buyer's agent was. And so I did some research. I went and did my real estate license, and I, started small and started with a company, and I ended up just buying more than I was building. And then I decided to wrap the building company up. It was quite large in its time. We had 20 employees and trucks and excavators and machinery and equipment. So it was quite a big company, and it was a hard thing to wrap that up. But the process of being a buyer's agent aligned with my values a lot more, and I still enjoyed being in the property industry. I still enjoyed the transactional side of things, but what I really enjoyed was actually just helping people buy houses, because I enjoyed the houses. It's in our human nature, right? It's the thrill of the kill. You see something you want, you chase it down, you negotiate, and you get a deal. And that's something I had to follow. It was like an intuition I had. I guess it was a feeling in my gut I had to follow. And mate, here we are today. We've got a great buyers advocacy. Like you said, we do rentals, we do building maintenance on the property too. My business manager came with me from my building company. We've got a great team from Sydney to the Sunshine Coast. So, mate, things are great, and couldn't be happier. And that exact guy who I was buying those properties for actually works for me now as a buyer's agent. So it's a small world, mate, but it's a fantastic thing, and it's a beautiful industry to be a part of.
It all comes around. Hey, I'm the same. I studied construction management or a Bachelor of Housing coming out of uni, out of school, and then worked for a residential construction company for like 10 years. And I just love this space. Like when you have this passion for property, it just never goes away, right? You just got to find your niche and what works well and how you enjoy it. So it's cool to see. It would have been such a big decision to change the business from like a building company into a buyer's agency side of things. It's good that you had that opportunity to pursue your passion and what you like, find what you love the most in the industry, and then just double down on it. You know what I mean?
Mate, I agree. It's like, and fortune favors the bold. If you don't give it a crack, you'll never know. And I've always been, that type of person who I'm never going to sit there on the fence waiting and watching. If there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And I'm still mates with everyone who worked for me in the building company. I've still had some great connections, which has followed me through to the buyers advocacy space. But this is us now. We're here for a while. We keep saying in the office we're changing the game, and we're bringing construction and that insight into the buyers advocacy space and managing properties and helping our investor clients reach their property goals.
Nice, mate. I love it. Now to wrap things up, I mean, there's 1,001 of them out there, but if you had one sort of favorite property one-liner, what would it be?
Mate, a one-liner?
Yeah.
Or a property that I like?
No, a property one-liner. Like, I don't know, some people say it's a game of finance over a game of property or something like that. I don't know. People throw things out there all the time. Do you have one? Or, I mean, kind of put you on the spot here.
Yeah, mate, I've got a few I think that I live off. I think, or live by, I should say. Mate, I think, you know what? I think pay good money for good property. There's so many people are always out there trying to get the next best thing. And if there's a good property out there, there's a successful real estate agent in Brisbane who I follow, runs his own agency. And I saw him buy this property on Instagram, and I thought, mate, you have paid way over for that property. But it was in a blue chip location, great city views. It was like 2,000 square meters in a city. And then it's been a year since he bought it, and he literally put this big Instagram up. I bought it for, this much, and now it's worth, nearly double because of this boom. And I thought, you know what? I like it. So since then, I've been telling my clients the same thing, but pay good money for good property, because there'll always be high demand for blue chip property. And I think it's one of those things that, you won't regret. If you buy a piece of shit in a shitty area that you think's going to grow and you can engineer value into it, then, that's one play, but you're going to be working harder to get that end result, as opposed to letting a good property sit for a while and appreciate. It's like wine, mate. Fine wine.
I like
Better
it.
with age.
It's true though, because you're like, I never really looked back on one of my properties, and I remember at the time, negotiating over $5,000 or something silly, and I don't look back now and go, oh, I wish I saved myself another $5,000. If you pay good for good property, it's gonna return forever if you hold on to it. Yeah. So I think you're bang on.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. So anyway, well, I live by that now anyway. So here I'll go make some high offers on some properties.
No, I like it, mate. Well, Nick, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thanks very much, Jordan. Great talking to you, mate.
Talk to you soon.